Lesson 5 in the TrackerRMS Academy will be on working with email and documents in the system. First off, we'll take a look at how emails can be sent directly from Tracker, and then we'll wrap up with working with documents. So we'll go ahead and look at different ways that emails can be sent on the system. So the easiest way is to go directly into the contact that you're going to be reaching out to. So if we pull up Aaron Shoplin's record using our recently viewed option, we can go into his profile, and inside of the candidate record, on the right-hand side, you'll have the touch bar. So this is always going to be the quickest and easiest way to send an email out on the system. And you have a couple different options. So one, we can send an email or we can send a template. You also do have the ability to send a custom form if you have built any custom forms. So we'll take a look at sending an email, and this is where you can write a one-off email on the system. It'll pop up the new email screen, and this is where I can write out the body of an email. And you can use the editor, which is going to be at the very top of the email itself, to populate the body of what you're writing out. Now, a couple things with the editor. One, you can put an image in by clicking on Insert Image, and then you have to click the box to upload that image to your system. If you try to copy and paste it directly in, it will show an error. You do need to have it loaded into the system. You do have the ability to change or put any formatting in here, as well as a hyperlink using the Insert or Edit link icon here. And to send an email out on the system, all you have to do is put in a subject line, put in the body of that, and then hit the green send button, and it will send the email out to the candidate directly from Tracker. Now, one of the options from here, if you're wanting to attach a document, all you have to do is hit the attachments drop down here, and this will let you pick up a document from any record in the system by selecting that record. So if we wanted to grab something from the candidate here, I can type in Aaron Shoplin, hit Find Resource. I can grab the candidate, and I have access to all the documents that are on the system. I could select them and attach as many as I want into this email. When I hit Attach Documents, you see that those documents will drop down in. I can hit the red X if I change my mind on one of them, or I could remove all of those from the system. Another thing to highlight in the attachments here is not only can you pick it up from any record on the system, but you can also access your centralized document library, where you can pick up any of your best and final documents from the system. The other option is you can also hit Browse and pick up a document from your desktop or anywhere on your computer by hitting the Choose File button. So next, we'll take a look at sending a template out. So templates that are built on the system you can access. So if we have a template that's built with an association of the candidate, that's going to be where you're sending it from and what it's pulling from. So if you hit Send a Template, it will pop up your folders so you can look at your emails and how they're organized in here. I can grab my candidate folder. I can pick up any type of template here. So if we have an email that we want to send, which is a cold call candidate template, I can select that. And then you can choose to auto-attach the primary resume or the primary photograph if you have an image on here. So we'll take a look at those different types of documents in just a second. But here we have the option to send now or preview. I always recommend hitting preview. Now if you see this disappear at all, or if it kind of gets blocked, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you'll probably have a red icon that's letting you know that a pop-up's being blocked. You can hit Allow or Always Allow, and it will make sure that that's not an issue. So inside of a template, you'll see that here, it will pull through the candidate's first name and any text that you have built out. So we do have an admin session on creating an email template in the system. This is going to be more just about how to send and how to work with the emails and documents. So here we can build out, and the templates can be changed. So in this one, if I wanted to change it and say anything that I want in here, or if the email template you want to remove completely, you can fully edit it before we send it out. So templates are a great way to automate the majority of the text or to make sure that you have some structure in there, but it can be a personalized message that can pull through the candidate's name. Templates can also have workflow attached, such as follow-up phone calls, follow-up activities that are on the back end of them. So quite a bit that can be packed into here. So you can also add people into the CC or the BCC line just by typing in their name. If there's somebody that is on the system, you'll see that it will search and pull up the information directly from Tracker. The other option you have is going up into the address book, and the address book will let you do a find. So if we're not sure exactly what the person's email address is or what their full name is, I can search using the address book, and I can pick up recipients directly from here. Now, when you hit send a template, it will send that email off and log the activity against that record. Now, templates can be stored against multiple different parts of the system, and you can have a number of different fields tagged in within those templates. So the touch bar is going to be, one of the easiest places to send or raise those activities, but you also have the activities section within a contact or a candidate that you can go in and create an activity from here. If we create an email activity, you'll see that I can log the email type of follow-up. And from this, when I hit save and continue, you'll see it will open up to where I can send an email or a template from the scheduled activity here. So next, we'll take a look at the Outlook side of things and how we can send an email and work within Outlook for any activities that are coming into the system. So there's the TrackerRMS add-in, and what that will allow you to do is pull up an email directly from Outlook and use the add-in to track it into the system. So the add-in will install directly into Outlook, and this is where I can go in and I can action out the email. So one, if I have a candidate with a resume that they sent me, I can hit create a record to create anything from a contact to a candidate here. All I have to do is hit create/update candidate to create a new candidate on the system. But we'll also take a look at how we can just create or log the activity directly into the system. So this is where you have the Send to TrackerRMS button. What this is it's like your personal assistant that will take that email and it will store it into Tracker. What it will do is it will look at the email address of who the message is coming from, and it will match and look at Tracker to find a contact or candidate with that same information. So this is a great one-click access to log the activity directly into the system. What it will also do is if there's a lead, an opportunity, or a project where the record is in an open status and the contact is the main contact on that record, it will also tag that activity to those parts of the system. So a common question is, what's the difference between track this email and send to Tracker? So send to Tracker is always going to match it against who the email is coming from, and it's going to just log and create that exactly as it is. If there's documents or anything inside the email, it will try to attach it. But what track this email does is it will pop up a window that will let you pick where you want the record to attach to. So let's say this email came from Jacob, who's one of our salespeople internally here, but we actually wanted it to go to a completely different person in the system. Send to Tracker is always going to take this email and it's going to try to put it to Jacob's record. But let's say we actually wanted it to go to Alex, who's the candidate that Jacob is emailing about. This is where you would use track this email. You could look up the candidates on the system, and I could go in and either in the drop-down, this will show any candidates that are a favorite, so I can look at any ones that are favorited, but I can also hit the Find button to type in the candidate's name. So if I wanted to pull up Alex on the system, I can start to type Alex, hit the green OK button, and hit the down arrow, and I could grab that candidate to attach the record directly to their record on Tracker. The one thing to note is this will only pull up active candidates. So if you have people that are inactive in the system, they will not pull up in the add-in. So one of the best practices is to go back in. You can change that candidate temporarily to an active status, or you could just take the email, save it, and then load it in as a document into the system. So a couple different things to see is Track This Email will let you choose if you want the attachments or not, where you can just tick the box. If there's multiple, you can tick multiples. And when it's a candidate, it will also give you a box to say, do you want to update this person's CV on the system? All you'll have to do here is hit the green attach button, and it will take that email and send it into Tracker against that particular candidate. So that's the main difference between Send to Tracker and Track This Email. Now the other option you have is Track Attachments. What this will do is it will let you again pick up the type of record you want. So this is a great one where if you get an updated job spec or if you get something that comes from the client, I can go into my jobs and I could grab an open position that we have. I can take that document and put it into a particular folder if I want, or I could go in and take it and mark it into, if it's a candidate, I could shortlist or longlist a candidate directly from that email. If this was just the case where I was processing documents, I can just pick up the documents and grab them into a particular part of the system. So Track Attachments will let you track an attachment to any part of the system. Track This Email will let you take an email and attach it to any part of the system. Now the next thing we'll touch on is how can we reply to an email from Outlook and send it into Tracker. So this is where if I wanted to reply back, you have a couple different options here. So if I'm replying back to Jacob, I can put in my email, and let's say I wanted to say, thank you, have a great weekend. This is probably not an email that we care about having in the system. So this is where you're going to have two things. One, you have your normal send button, so you can send the email just as you would. This is an email where you'd probably just hit send because you wouldn't want that in the database. The other option you're going to have right above is send and track. This is going to be your option directly from Outlook to send that email, and Tracker will go in and match that against the candidate record that's on the system, whether it's a candidate or a contact. So in one click, I can send the response just as I normally would, and I can pick and choose the data that I want to go directly back into the system. So easy way to log activities and work directly within Outlook, but still get all of the activities back into the system. When you're working directly through Tracker, you can send all of your emails using the touch bar, and all of those activities will be logged against the contact, the candidate, or the job, depending on where you're working within the system, in real time, because the workflow of Tracker automatically logs those activities. So the next thing we'll take a look at is if you are using either email on a Mac or if you don't have access to Outlook. The other option that you'll have is our mail addresses. What this is it will allow you to process emails into Tracker by either BCCing or CCing these addresses into the system. So mail@tracker-agent.com, the top one. What that will do is it will use the same type of logic where whoever you're sending the email to, it's going to try to find their record in Tracker and match the activity against them. If you have a resume that you're wanting to parse in or create in the system directly from your email, you can CC or BCC extract@tracker-agent.com, and that will take that resume and try to parse and create a candidate record directly into the system. So ways to still get the activities stored in the system, whether you're working directly within Outlook or not. So the next thing we'll take a look at is documents inside Tracker and how we can work with some documents in the system. So let's take a look at Amir here, one of our candidates. And let's go down and look at the documents inside of his section. So in the document section of Tracker, this is where you'll have everything listed out. So we have our file name, we have the description of the document, the type that it is, the size, when it was last modified, who added it, and then what the status is. The gold star here is going to be an important one because this will tick whether it's a primary record, which is what can be attached into templates and workflow on the system. The padlock here will indicate whether it's a private record, where you can make private records only viewable to certain users on the system. And then the live edit button we'll go over shortly, but this is where a Word document you can pull up inside of Word, make live changes to, hit save, and it will replace that document inside the system. So first off, we'll take a look at document types and what different types of documents there are. So this is where, if I look at one of the documents here, I can change the type. If I hit the selected documents drop down, I'll see a number of different things in here. I can delete, I can move or copy, I can mark it as private, open, I can make it the primary type of document, I can re-extract it or re-parse it into the system to make sure that it's going to update the relevant info. I can rename it, and then I can change the document type. If we look at document types, inside of a candidate record, you're going to have two different types. So you're going to have a general document, or you're going to have a resume. A resume is going to be able to pull through into any templates that are resume specific. A general document is just going to be a document on the system. If you have a resume that's stored as a general document, it won't be able to be pulled through into templates. So you'll want to make sure that the type is correct. We'll also take a look at jobs in a second, because jobs will also have a job spec type, which will allow you to pull a primary job spec into templated emails as well. So here you can change the type of document if it was actually accidentally brought in as a general document instead. You'll notice here we have upload resume or upload document. So upload resume is going to load in a resume directly from your computer. This is where you can pull that in. You can pick the folder it goes to. You can mark whether you want it private. You can choose to overwrite an existing document. You can tick to make it a primary right from the upload. You can tick the box to make sure that it is indexed for full searching. You can also apply it to the skills profile. So if you're leveraging skills on Tracker, it will use the keywords to try to skill up the candidates. And then you can also make it visible on the candidate portal. So this will automatically load it in as a resume. But the other option you have is upload documents, which is where you can bring in a document into the system and it will tag the type as a document. So often what happens is people bring in a resume using the upload document section, and they have to change the type down the road. So when you bring a document into the system, if you hit the options drop down, you have the ability to mark it as private and confidential. You can tick to override it, and then you can also make it visible on the portal as well. So here we have our document types in here. If you want to look at the document, all you have to do is click on the document itself, and that will open up a preview for you to view the full document that's inside the system. So the full document is always available just by clicking on the link and loading it up. You will notice at the very top, you do have the primary resume or CV listed in an unformatted format here, so I can quickly pull it up without having to wait for the full document to render and load. The next thing we'll take a look at is how we can rename. So here, if we wanted to rename the resume, all I have to do is click on it, hit the selected documents dropdown, and this is where I can go in and I can rename. So the important thing here is you'll need to keep the formatting at the end for the document type. But if I wanted to change this, I could simply go in and say the new name of it, hit OK, and that's going to take that document and change the name. Now you can also move or copy So if I wanted to take this resume and move it into our CV folder, I can grab it, hit the selected candidates dropdown, and say I want to move or copy it. You can pick the folder that it's going into. You can choose to either move it if you select nothing, hit copy to keep it in its place, and then overwrite it as well. So if I wanted to move it, I don't need to click anything. All I do is hit OK, and that will now move into our CV folder. You can also create a new folder if you want by hitting the plus button here to name a new folder. And it's as easy as that. Next, we'll take a look at editing an existing resume that's on the system using our live edit. So here I can grab the resume that we want to change, and I can hit the green live edit button. Now that will pop up a window that will let you know, we are attempting to open it inside of Word. So I can hit yes, and then it will load up and render Word. So what it does is it downloads a live version of that form. I can pull it up on screen, and I can take this resume, make any changes to it, and any changes that I've made on this resume, I can hit the Save button directly inside of Word, and what it will do is it will reach back out to Tracker, and it will update that document inside the system with all of the editing you've done to it. So you can live edit that document, and it will overwrite it. So the important thing to note on here is it is only Word documents, and you would have to have Word installed into your computer. So another trick here is it will update the existing document. So if you're wanting to keep the original, you would want to make a copy before you do that live edit, because it is just going to replace the existing document that you open up. Even if you rename it in Word, it's going to replace that existing document. So that's how you can live edit or make any changes to the existing document directly from that resume. The other thing we'll quickly take a look at is how we can go in and make a copy if we wanted to. So if we were going to make a copy of this one before we did the live edit, you just click the box, go down and hit Move Copy. I can bring it in that folder if I want, and all I have to do is click Copy Files to Folder, hit the OK button, and now it will create a copy that I could go in and I could work with so I could retain that original. The other thing you can do here is if you've decided, oh, you know what, I screwed up, I can grab that and I can hit delete. And deleting a document is as easy as just going in, hitting delete and confirm. We can also change the primary resume if we wanted by selecting a different resume, hitting our selected documents dropdown, and hitting make primary. So here it will make that resume a primary, and you'll see the gold star will change from that to this. So if we have blinded out or if we've reformatted a resume, you would want to make sure that that's the primary one, because that is what will pull up in your template that's on the system. The last piece we'll take a look is, let's say we've updated our resume and now we want to make sure that the newest one is parsed into the system. So here, if we click on the box to the left of the resume, hit the selected documents dropdown, we can go and we can re-extract our resume. So what this is it will pop up a box that will ask you, do you want to full text index it again? And then you can select what parts of the system you want or don't want to have updated. So you can uncheck these if you don't care or if you want to keep the existing data. But if I want everything to get replaced by anything new that's on the resume, all I do is hit re-extract. It will take just a few seconds, and Tracker will parse and update that candidate with the most recent information that's on the system. So now we have the latest resume that's updated. All this information is loaded in, and that's how you can work with documents inside of a candidate record. Now the next thing we'll look at before we wrap up on Lesson 5 is if we're inside of a job a slightly different type of document. If we look at the job here and go into the document section, inside of a job you have documents and then you also have specifications. Specifications, just like a resume, can be loaded in and you can make it as the primary. But what this is when you're sending an email out, you can choose to pick the primary specification up. So if you're sending a job email or something out to a candidate, you can pick up the job spec directly from the job as long as it's loaded in as a spec. If it is loaded in as a document, it isn't going to be available in those templates, but as long as it's uploaded as a spec, you can pick it up using that. So that wraps up Lesson 5. And Lesson 6, we will be going over working with leads and prospect accounts in Tracker.